Right, this is the Project PAHOOT Part 4. Well, an intro to. Not done a massive amount really towards it until the body comes off. There's not really a lot of work that's going to be happening. I bought a few little bits, a few little discoveries, done a little bit here and there, and I'm now the proud owner of a book of lies. It's not a Haynes one, so it's not a proper book of lies, but it may well help me in my quest to do everything properly, and it kind of confirms what I've already seen in terms of getting the body off. Also got a little, it's green, it's not purple, but I've got a little one there. So what I'm going to aim to do from now on is do an update video once a week. I realise I'm walking around in circles here, but I'm going to do an update video about once a week with just little bits and bobs. So if I do any sort of anything to the bodywork, anything to the mechanical stuff, interior, I'll try and get as much footage of it as possible and upload it. But it's not going to be a quick process. I'm not aiming to get this car done probably any time in the next 5 years. I want to do it properly. Probably still be finished before Project Binky is. For anyone who knows what Project Binky is, you know what I'm talking about. And obviously I've only got one project on the run. I've not got multiple projects, so I'm not going to be flicking back and two. It's only ever going to be about this car. So when I get back off holiday, I'm going to get it back on the ramp. I'm going to get the body off, start pulling the interior out, and then start looking at other bits and bobs on the chassis. You'll see there's a couple of clips that are going to come up after this where I've been looking at the chassis, and I'll discuss some things that I want to do with it. But then once the body is off, I can start making the lists. So most, you work on a car, you have a list. I think with this one I need 2, maybe 3 lists, like a chassis list or chassis and mechanical list, body and electrical list, and an interior list. So 3 lists I think we'll go for. It's better all going to be quite long, and there'll be definitely stuff on there that's going to be nice to have. I've got some ideas of things that I want to incorporate in the car that I don't have now, and I'm kind of looking for in the background. There's some modern upgrades that I want to fit to it, but I'm not going to go into them yet, just in case it's not really going to be too possible. But I'll probably know better once I've got run it down to the bare chassis and I can look at it that way. So well, see where I'm up to and enjoy. This is one of my super cheap LED headlights. Cost all of about a £5 on AliExpress, so China for the win. So we've got a little bit of a test bed on it. So there we have. There's the halo. So that's the side light DRL. I'm not going to be using DRLs obviously because it's an old car. Green is, I believe, as your indicator. The yellow is dip beam, and white is, I'll move the earth lead out of the way, main beam. The only problem is, so far, if we look over here, if I, the beam pattern is very flat. There's no angling of the beam, so they point straight ahead rather than pointing down to the right. The main beam is just another additional, it's just 2 LEDs rather than 1. So I figure I'm probably going to use these as the inner 2 on the car. Get rid of that before it sparks again. So this one is going to go in the inner position, so in there. They will live there like that because they're going to be main beam only. Well, they're going to have the halo is going to light up all the time, whenever the side lights are on, so I'll have both with the halo on. This will be the main beam, and then this side, if I can find a proper right hand drive example that dips down, points to the left like it should do, that will be for have the halo, indicator, dip and main. So it means I'm left with these old indicator holes here that I may well fill in, or I might put some additional side lights into as well, just so there's more lights on the front. In terms of other bits of the bodywork, I'm thinking to modernise it a bit without modernising it too much, is some sort of side repeater on the side here. Now I'm thinking the round ones that you get on the BMW Z4s, but remove the BMW roundel, so you have you'd have a circle there, and instead of having BMW written on it, you'd have, you know, I'd have GTE or the Scimitar badge on that. We'll do something similar at the back as well. I've been measuring up these light apertures for LED replacements. Now, the ones you can buy that are like that kind of size for like trailers and stuff, they're quite chintzy, and they've got like a round light here and they've got swoopy bits, and I don't want that because it's quite square. So what I'm thinking is buying 80mm LEDs, so I have a brake light, an indicator and a reverse here, and then same here, brake, indicator and a fog there. So that means I can get rid of these holes where the original fog lights were, fill them in. Number plate light is the same, that will become an LED. But I think just having square lights across there, or 3 individual square lights, will fill the gap in nicely. If need be, I might look at getting some kind of surround made up, 3D printed. We'll just sort of see how it goes. Bit of an update on the chassis situation. So it's still not rotten, but there's a few things that I want to address and I want to do to it. So first, it looks to me like all the body mounting bolts are all pretty much rotten, which I did expect, to be fair. So with any luck, they'll actually snap when I undo them, and I can put fresh ones in, weld them to the chassis, and make them captive. Right. Also, I'm going to be fitting another gearbox instead of this one. So this is obviously designed for the Ford gearbox and the overdrive system that we have. I'm going to be putting a Mazda MX-5 gearbox in, hopefully. So that's going to have to be changed. But in view of the fact that I may well be adding a bigger engine and gearbox at some point, I'm going to try and maybe make something a bit more universal here. So I'll have, you know, a selection of holes into the chassis, and replace this with almost like a universal slotted piece that can move backward and forward depending on how big the gearbox is. That piece should still be good to stay where it is. But one thing I do want to do while the chassis is as it is, before anything happens to it, is these are the bolts for the seat. Now the seat, as you can see, is basically just bolted straight through the tub, and that's like a 20mm washer and an M8 bolt. So the seat is basically putting all its force through the tub. So my idea is to put some kind of brace across here that's welded to the chassis. It will obviously have to be shaped so that it goes up and follows the line of the body here, but then the seat will bolt to the chassis through the body rather than just to the body. Up there should be a simple case of just adding a piece of steel across from the edge of here onto this section of the chassis here. As you can see, this side, the seat looks like it's already pulled through the tub a little bit, so that will be that needs to be addressed, because I want to fit some proper inertia reel seat belts. It's got like adjustable belts in now, but they're not inertia reel, they're not very good, so I'm going to have to do something about beefing up any part of the chassis, especially like around here, or around here where the main roll hoop is. That will get fixed, but mainly the chassis, once I've got the body off, is going to be hopefully shot blasted back to nothing. I don't really fancy doing it with a wire wheel. I'll be here all year, but if I can shot blast it back and then make a decision on either painting it, powder coating it, or galvanising it, but all modifications and future proofing will have to be done before any of that happens, especially if I galvanise it, because I don't want to be cutting and welding a galvanised chassis afterwards because of all the fumes it puts off. But hopefully in the next sort of few weeks I should be able to start getting this body off once I've had a bit more of a suss out of how it's done. I think I've got a bit of an idea. There's a few areas that are probably going to cause a bit of pain, such as obviously up here in the driver's footwell. The pedal box looks to be bolted straight to the tub, so that either that will have to come off, or I'll just disconnect everything from there, so the brake cable, the accelerator cable, brake and clutch master cylinders, the steering column is going to have to come off up the top there somewhere. And it looks also like this above this steel cowling here, or this part of the chassis, is this cowling here that houses the radiator and the fan, and also sits under this air dam here. That will all have to come out as well. But it looks to be like there's about 20 bolts that hold it in. And like I said, I'm going to make everything, all the new ones, see out there is proper crusty, so I will make everything new, captive. I will just weld nuts on there, and then when the chassis is coated, they'll be encapsulated in it, and they shouldn't actually, they shouldn't go wrong. So what time will tell. So I'm going to hopefully put a time lapse of me getting the body off, as long as it doesn't take me like 6 weeks to do. I'll try and do it all in one hit, but I'll put a time lapse up of that, and then we'll see where we go from there.